What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Just one game week left this season for the final time. Here are my game week 38 transfer plans. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here, and today it is game week 38 transfer plans, the final game week of the season. It's time to take those punts. Time to finalize our teams, get those little bits of rank, little bits of mini league gains that we might need in the final week of the season. Before we go any further, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. If you haven't subscribed already as well, we're going to chase down 57,000 subscribers in the final week of the season. So my team for this week is going to line up as it does on screen. Now, I'm currently recording at half time in Manchester City versus Chelsea. The Manchester City team is heavily rotated. There was no Edison, no Haaland, the two that I own. Mahrez, Alvarez and Foden, the highly owned players that do get a start, but hoping that Haaland and Edison do come back in between now and the end of the season, or I might be ending with no goalkeeper this season. Looking at my lineup, it is a 3-5-2. We are starting Estupiñán, Trent, and then Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw potentially was a doubt, but he did end up starting despite picking up a knock in the kickoff against Bournemouth. Rashford is in here despite being ill. Looks like he'll be fine for the Chelsea game. Bruno Fernandes continuing to look good, but getting no FPL returns. Mo Salah, Matoma and McAllister both picking up an assist today, finally getting some returns from them. Haaland up front currently as my captain, and then Alexander Isak as my 11th man. It's okay. I have 2 free transfers though and 0.5 million in the bank, so there is lots I could do. And because we don't have to think about our players for more than 1 week, it's literally down to 1 week punts for me this week. So if I look at players in my team that I'm not massively happy with, Isak, of course, is an okay player, but away at Chelsea, and if Wilson's going to start and he's playing left wing away at Chelsea, maybe I don't love that. But watching Chelsea again in that first half, to be honest, starting any Newcastle players against us is not too bad a thing, to be honest, especially if they need something on the final day to get into Europe, although it doesn't necessarily look like they will. Edison in goal. Edison did not start today. Will he start in game week 38? We don't know. I do have Kepa on my bench as Newcastle at home, and he did start today. There was a little bit of doubt about whether Mendy would come in. Maybe Mendy does get another game between now and the end of the season as Chelsea potentially look to boost his selling price, as they probably look to offload him in the summer. So I might be left without a goalkeeper this week. The only other place that I am potentially unsure about is by Brighton triple up. Estupiñán in defence away at Aston Villa is not a clean sheet that I necessarily think is going to come in. Matoma and McAllister have been okay. The returns have not been that great. So Isak, the triple Brighton, and probably my goalkeeper are where I'm looking to play a transfer this week. In terms of the players that I could potentially transfer in, now, normally at this point in the season, we look for players that have something to play for in the final day of the season. However, it's very possible that we get to the final day and there are only 6 max teams that really have anything to play for on the final day. Aston Villa, Spurs and Brentford all fighting for 7th place to get the Europa Conference League, and then Everton, Leeds and Leicester all fighting to stay in the Premier League. And I think it's fair to say, particularly given the fixtures that a lot of these teams do have, so Aston Villa play at home to Brighton, which is a difficult fixture. Everton do have Bournemouth at home. Leicester do go at home again to West Ham. Brentford have Manchester City as well in there, and then Spurs do play against Leeds. So none of them have a particularly easy fixture. Maybe Everton, you could say, they have Bournemouth at home. You could look to target them generally. But the difference this season is there's not that easy ways to find punts that have a lot of motivation left to play for their season. So we might be looking at some teams that maybe have a home fixture in particular, playing for the last time in front of their fans, a little bit more to prove on the final day, despite them not having anything to play for. So all of my transfer plans, I've got 3 options that I think I might do this week. All of them involve 2 transfers. I'm not going to take a hit, I don't think, on the final day, but I do have 2 free transfers, 0.5 million in the bank. So there'll all be 2 combinations of moves. The first one comes down to if we get news that I'm not going to have a goalkeeper starting. Because all the games kick off at the same time, we might get early team news on quite a number of teams, particularly Manchester City. We might get Liverpool, we might get Arsenal as well. So quite a few number of teams. If I get news that neither Edison nor Kepa are going to start, I will have to use one of my transfers, I think, on a goalkeeper. I was originally going to go and buy Ramsdale, and he was going to be my goalkeeper I was going to go and bring in. However, watching Arsenal lose to Nottingham Forest and just the way those players didn't look up for it does concern me a little bit. I could do Edison down to Ramsdale in this situation as well, but in the moment I do like the idea of going with Pickford. Bournemouth don't look quite at it. They're of course safe in the Premier League, going away to Everton on the final day. Everton and Pickford fighting to save their lives. They just don't need to lose that game as well, it looks like. So I do quite like Pickford as a 1 week punt at 4.4 million. million. Then we move up front, and although I think Isaac's an okay option away at Chelsea, I do think moving off him is something that I would look at. Alvarez has scored for Manchester City. I could go to him and add another Manchester City player, although Gabriel Jesus is probably the one that I'll go with. Although I'm not certain on how Arsenal are going to perform and how they looked yesterday against Nottingham Forest, Wolves at home is still a good fixture. I still expect them to put on a show for the fans to get behind them, that to be a good game. The same thing happened last year. They didn't get Champions League, and then on the final day, they won really well, really comfortably at home. So I do still quite like the idea of going Isaac up to Gabriel Jesus as one of my moves. And if we don't have a goalkeeper this week, then Ederson down to maybe Ramsdale or Pickford to free up the remaining money. Now, option 2 is if we also get news that I have a goalkeeper starting, probably Kepa looks like he's okay to start given he did start against Manchester City today. I could keep that Isaac up to Gabriel Jesus move and do that as one free transfer. Now, of course, I will need to free up a little bit of money to do that. And currently, Kieran Trippier is sat on my bench in my current draft for Gameweek 38, so I could just downgrade him. This would be to Kyria, probably of Arsenal. Again, Wolves at home. It is a good fixture. I still think it's a clean sheet potentially on the cards. If you have your Arsenal defenders, I would definitely start them in this fixture. Whether exactly Kyria gets into my starting lineup, I'm not 100% sure. I could start him over Estupiñán, who does have that Aston Villa away fixture. However, Brighton defence is very highly owned, and it might depend on how much I want to gamble on the final day. But even if I don't necessarily need to start him, I could just do Trippier down to Kyria, Isaac up to Gabriel Jesus, leave Kyria on the bench, and then of course start Gabriel Jesus. The only concern with that is I'm basically using 2 free transfers, but actually only making one change to my starting 11, which doesn't really feel worth it on the final day. And then I have a slightly more punty option of what I could do with it. And this involves selling one of my Brighton midfielders. And the moment it's McAllister. It might depend on whether we think Matoma is going to start. He's played a lot of minutes. We didn't expect him to start against Southampton today, but he did in the end. Aston Villa away, again, the way that they're returning and the way Aston Villa still need to win that game, whereas Brighton probably won't end up needing anything from that game. I will probably look to offload one of them in my sort of third option of transfers. Now, I do still like Arsenal. I'm unlikely to go double or triple Arsenal on the final day, but taking a punt on one of them in their final game in front of the fans, I could do. I do like the idea of Trossard now that Martinelli is out for the season. Playing on that left-hand side, he looks good. He's on some set pieces. When he plays, he does seem to play really well. The only thing is the motivation aspect of Arsenal is not necessarily there, and there could be a bit of rotation. We could see Nelson get a game. We could see Smith Rowe get a game. Both players who haven't played that much this season. So it might not necessarily be Trossard. It could be Odegaard, for example, as well, an upgrade from the likes of McAllister or Mitoma in my team this week. But I do still fancy maybe one Arsenal attacker going into Wolves at home. This would be an upgrade. So normally it's my forward transfer that's been an upgrade. So it's been Isaac up to Gabriel Jesus. But in this transfer situation, it's upgrading a midfielder. So McAllister up to Trossard or Odegaard. And I'd have to downgrade Alexander Isak. And at the moment, I'm currently looking at Iheanacho. Now, it might depend exactly what happens and who lines up for Leicester in their Monday night fixture against Newcastle, and if they need anything, if they're still even possible to stay up on the final day. It looks like they'll still have something to fight for, even though it's a very, very slim chance. Iheanacho, if he does start, his points per game are really good. They do have Bournemouth at home. Even if Leicester are not necessarily going to stay up, I do expect them to score goals against Bournemouth in this final at home fixture. This is a lot more punty than my other two, and it might depend on how the remainder of my game week 38 is going to go. If I fall a little bit more, and I think I'm risking falling out of the top 1k by the end of game week 38, then I might not necessarily do this move because it's quite punty and they're two big differentials. However, if this week ends okay and I'm still 15-20 points inside the top 1k, I fancy taking a bit of a gamble to maybe try and get in the top 100 or just see where I can end up this week. I do really like this. It's two big differentials. Iheanacho at home to Bournemouth, Trossard at home to Wolves. So my potential transfers, I'm pretty certain that Isaac is not going to be my team come the Game Week 38 deadline. This is both because it's a difficult fixture in theory away at Chelsea. Not that difficult, but compared to maybe some of the other fixtures I could look to target, Bournemouth at home, plus looking to target Wolves at home as well, I do think he's likely to go. The other transfer is then a combination of things. Isaac could go down to the likes of Iheanacho. We could go up to Gabriel Jesus as well. To free up the money, I could potentially downgrade Ederson. I could go to maybe Ramsdale, or then we also spoke about Pickford, or I could offload one of my Brighton midfielders if I don't think they're going to do really well away to Aston Villa this week. So I'll potentially be looking to see any early team news going into Game Week 38. I'll also be looking to see how the rest of my game week goes, how many gambles, how much of a risk I can take going into Game Week 38 to maybe get the rank I want, or maybe I'm just trying to play it safe and not drop too much further down, because it does look like I might get another red arrow in Game Week 37. So that is my team at the moment. I'm currently captaining Haaland because I do think he might start that one. Again, if there is doubt that he's going to start, start. It will probably be a Mo Salah captaincy with a Bruno Fernandes vice captaincy, or Marcus Rashford, a home to Fulham, could also get the armband. Or if I'm feeling crazy, one of those new transfers in could also get the armband. Let me know what you think you would do with my team. Let me know as well, how are you getting on so far in Game Week 37? Did that Manchester City rotation hit you as hard as it did hit me with Haaland and Ederson as well? Going to go and watch the second half and then edit this video. Let me know any questions you have about your team, any thoughts you have about my team as well. Drop it all in the comment section down below. We are so close to the end of the season. Thank you all so much for your support. There will be 2 more videos this week, plus the final deadline stream of the season. If you've enjoyed not just this video, the content we've had all throughout the year as well, make sure you've liked. If you're new, we'll be back again to do it next season, so make sure you've subscribed as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck in the remainder of Game Week 37, still the doubles to play, and I'll be back again very soon.